Once upon a time, in a valley surrounded by tall, silent mountains, there lived a young man named Marco. He was only 24, but he felt older than his years. His heart was heavy, and his mind was never quiet. Thoughts chased each other endlessly inside his head, memories of past mistakes, regrets he could not change, and fears about a future he could not control. At night, Marco lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying old moments or worrying about what was to come. During the day, he walked through the village with tired eyes, unable to laugh, unable to smile. His friends often asked him what was wrong, but Marco himself could not explain. He only knew one thing. He was exhausted, not by work, but by his own thoughts. One morning, he overheard travelers speaking about a wise old man who lived far away in a mountain village. The old man had once been a famous psychologist in the city, someone who had helped countless people heal their minds. But in his old age, he had left the noise and chaos of the city behind and chosen to live close to nature. Villagers said he carried with him a kind of peace that spread to everyone who came near. The story sparked a flame of hope inside Marco. If he could help so many people before, maybe he can help me too, he thought. And so, without much hesitation, Marco packed a small bag and set out on the long journey through forests, rivers, and winding mountain paths. Days later, tired and dusty, he finally reached the little village hidden among the hills. There, on the porch of a small house covered with climbing plants and flowers, sat the old man. His eyes were closed. His hands rested gently on his knees, and his face was calm, almost glowing with quiet contentment. Marco approached him respectfully and whispered, "Grandfather, my mind is restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes and looked at Marco with kindness. A soft smile spread across his face. "So, you are searching for peace," he said. "Then come with me. I will give you a task." He led Marco into his yard, picked up a glass, and filled it to the very brim with water, so full that even the smallest shake could make it spill. Handing it to Marco, he said, "Take this glass. Walk through the village all the way to the far edge and then return here, but remember, do not spill even a single drop." Marco was surprised by the request, but he wanted to prove himself. Holding the glass carefully with both hands, he began walking. The village was alive with noise and movement. Children were running and laughing. Dogs barked loudly at strangers. Shopkeepers shouted to attract customers, and carts rattled along the narrow road. Yet Marco's eyes never left the surface of the water. His entire body tensed with focus. Step by step, he moved slowly and steadily, ignoring everything around him. When he finally returned to the old man's house, not a single drop had been spilled. Breathing with relief, Marco said, "Grandfather, I did it. The glass is still full." The old man nodded gently. "Yes, but tell me, on your journey, did you see the children playing by the roadside? Did you hear the dogs barking or the voices of the merchants?" Marco looked confused. "No," he admitted. "I didn't notice any of it. I was only watching the glass." The old man's smile deepened, and his voice was calm but firm. "That is the secret. When your mind is fixed on the present moment, there is no room for regret about the past and no space for fear of the future. For that short time, you were free. You were at peace." Marco stood silently, the meaning sinking deep into his heart. For the first time in years, he felt light, as though a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He realized that peace was not something hidden in the mountains, nor something another person could give him. It had always been inside him, waiting to be discovered in the here and now. As the sun set behind the mountains and birds returned to their nests, Marco bowed his head to the old man. With gratitude in his eyes, he whispered, "Now I understand. If I want peace, I must live in this moment." And so, Marco walked back home. But he was no longer the same restless young man who had set out days earlier. He carried no special treasure, no secret formula, only a quiet heart and a new way of seeing the world. From that day forward, Marco lived differently. Whenever worries began to crowd his mind, he remembered the glass of water. He returned to the present moment, and peace would return to